Hey everyone, this is Mike and I'm here with Dan from Kayfabe6 and we're discussing and reviewing the WWE main event title scene. We were initially going to break this up in parts, discussing the Randy Orton and Seth match and then doing the main event with Brock and Roman. But given the fact that everything's probably going to start intertwining after watching Monday Night Raw, the Raw After Mania show, we decided we'll just do a review of all of it together as one. Especially since Randy Orton is likely to be in the main event title scene also. So let's talk about the Seth Randy Orton match.
Oh, I was so excited for that match with all the build-up, and it did not disappoint at all. Like, everything about it, I really enjoyed that match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really good, and I initially had it pegged as, you know, the match I was hoping was going to be essentially match of the night, and I don't know if it was really that, but it definitely was very entertaining. It was a good solid match. I like some of the stuff that Orton did, like the double DDT from the apron to the mat on the outside.
Yeah, and took them out of the match completely after that. That was perfect, yeah.
And of course we got that RKO.
Oh, that RKO. Like, you know it's a great RKO when Wrestlemania isn't over yet and the internet's going crazy about it.
Yeah. I mean, there was GIFs galore after that.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy.
I remember we were both kind of going nuts because it came out of nowhere. But do you have that as the best RKO for you?
Yeah, it's up there, but that one that he pulled off on Evan Bourne is still up there. It's amazing. I know we've talked about it afterwards, and you're like, well, technically it wasn't a full one, but it was still just one of those, like, that was like complete shock and awe. But this was up there, absolutely.
Definitely. I only find it funny because of the fact that Orton is kind of waiting there, bent over, like in a back body drop position a little too long when you go back and look. He wasn't really in that. Most of the guys are kind of on their hands and knees when they're about to get curb stomped. But he was like already like fully up and then like bent over a little. But I didn't catch it then. It's just funny looking back and watching it now how prepared he was for it. But I guess you could spin it like, you know, he's playing possum basically.
Yeah. Well, you've seen Rollins catch the curb stomp from that height. Really, like he does get some hang time. So it's.
But he did get some hang time when Randy lifted him up.
Oh, God, yeah. He literally just threw him up in the air. That was amazing, though. And even his face as you see him, like, about to land for the RKO.
That actually what I loved about the replay the most, when you see Seth's face coming down to the mat, and he has that, like, he just, like, he sold it. He
sold it so well, man.
And he just was, like, lights out. That was a lot of fun. But, so, Randy went over, which, I guess... And this will make sense as we lead into the main event. Prior to that, were you expecting Randy to close the feud without us even knowing if Seth was going to cash in or not? Did you see Randy being the victor?
I saw him being the victor, but I was expecting it to be a little bit, maybe not necessarily such a clean finish the way it was, just for the sake of creating more of a storyline between them. Because let's face it, you know, he technically took Randy Orton out of the storyline for a little bit, so... Just to kind of end off at WrestleMania, there was a lot more potential to the storyline between these two. So it's
knowing that Seth obviously lost as clean as you could, really. Although we were watching it together, I don't think we talked about it at the time. But did you think that was a sign that Seth losing clean was more of a sign that maybe he was going to cash in later on in the night?
Not necessarily the loss for me, but it was more just the placement of the match. The match was really early.
It was,
yeah. It was even before the Divas match, and it was before a lot of
things were before the Divas match.
Yeah, a lot of things. Well, that surprised me. That's a whole other story, right? Yeah. But no, it was like a second match in, essentially, right? Like on the main card. So once that happened, I knew there was a cash in, rather Seth won or lost, right? So, but at least considering he did cash in, it does throw Orton into the mix right now, right?
So let's go to the main event then. And at the moment, we didn't think anything of Seth. Like, we obviously knew the possibility, but I don't think I was thinking anything.
No, me neither. Even the way the storyline in the match was going, I was still very.
It just felt like they were closing that book with him and Randy. That Randy got the win after all that punishment, and that's sealed. I wasn't really thinking any sort of WrestleMania 10 Bret Hart Owen thing at the time. But now looking at it now, it feels like they paid homage to WrestleMania 10. With Bret losing clean as a whistle to Owen. And then obviously we know what happened later. So let's talk about the main event, which obviously with Brock re-signing sort of had all of us wondering now what was going to happen.
Oh yeah, I really thought Brock was going to walk away with the belt for that reason alone. But I guess the payday was well worth it for him to take the dive essentially. So
yeah, so let's talk about the match itself before skipping to the end. So Roman came out to see a booze.
Yep, but no surprise there. We knew Brock was going to go over well in that crowd.
It was interesting. It was interesting to watch Roman's demeanor because he wasn't even remotely acknowledging the crowd any sort of way. Even the people that were cheering him, he didn't really give the daps to or the fist pumps to or any sort of high five. A few guys even pushed him hard. Even when he came down the ramp the initial time, I was watching it again. When he first comes down the ramp, this one guy just like shoves his head forward and security just goes after him. Like, some guy just overstepping there, you know, and that's not cool. But it was funny watching his demeanor, at least at the time, because it felt like he had this look of like, man, you guys still aren't sort of rocking with me, but I'm going to leave here a winner. That's kind of the way I was looking at him. Was like, this guy looks like, you know, he knows he's going to win. He just has to now go get through this night.
It was just like, I guess like it was a sense of confidence / determination. You know what I mean?
And then Brock came out to obviously a nice pop.
Yeah, I was so happy he had the big entrance, because if Triple H had the best entrance at WrestleMania, that would have just completely just bugged the hell out of me.
So let's talk about the match itself. It went very similar to the match with Cena and Brock back at SummerSlam 14.
Very similar script.
They didn't let Reigns get in any kind of offense. They had Brock literally beat him to a pulp and humble him very quickly. Yeah, it was interesting to watch because I was saying it continuously when we were watching it together. I was like, I'm not gonna fall for it. I'm not gonna fall for pitting him. I'm not gonna do it. But I gotta give Roman Reigns props because he really sold the beating where you couldn't help but feel for him. At least in the moment, before all the laughing and giggling back and forth. When he was taking those German suplexes, the way he was selling it, it was hard not to. I wanted to see Brock win. I didn't want to see Brock annihilate the guy like the way they had him initially doing it, right? Yeah. So I find it very interesting of that they had him just start squashing him throughout the match. I guess you weren't expecting that either.
No, not at all. Actually, it was it was really weird for me because there was like I said, I had that hope, you know, that Brock was gonna it was Brock's night, considering the whole contract stuff. And then just the way the script of the story, the way that like in-match story was going, it was kind of setting up for the Reigns comeback, which we ended up seeing with due to the corner post, right? And then it was just a complete plot. Plot turn? What was the term that everyone uses?
the twist. I guess.
Yeah, complete plot twist.
The storytelling I felt was very well done. I felt when Roman got him into the post and Brock busted himself open. I thought they did it so well because when Roman gets into the ring and he nails that first Superman punch, he has this face of, oh my god, I can do it, / he's in disbelief that Brock didn't go down. Yeah. And he sold it well. He didn't go into that mean mode. He almost like a kid trying to achieve his dream at that moment. Yeah. And that's where I had to give him props again because of the fact of how his demeanor changed. He came in like this tough as nails guy. Then he's getting humble. Then he's laughing at Brock. Like, not laughing, but like asking him to bring it on. That's when he got essentially, you know, bitch slapped there.
I kind of wish with the whole laughter thing that he was very clear in the sense of saying like, is that all you got? Or like saying like, yes I can, or like, you know what I mean, like something like that could have added more more context to it. But it was still, he was definitely jeering Brock to some degree, like kind of, like, it was kind of this, I interpreted it as being like, that is that all you got to some degree.
And I started interpreting it that there was like a slow little, it was him sort of healing it up a bit. And I wasn't sure at that moment. I was calling it out, like, let's watch Heyman. Yeah.
We were watching a lot, looking for a lot of cues from Heyman. I think Heyman even like springing up. We're like, oh, whoa, like we were really expecting the
at that moment when
heel turn.
Well, yeah, at that moment when Reigns was sort of egging Brock on and taking him, like, you'd only do that if you know you're leaving here as champ, or at least in kayfabe, I mean, too. Sure. So it was really interesting to see that side of him, but, you know, when, I got to give him props at the end there where he looked like he was really selling it. He knows that it's not easy and he's going to do what he can to win. So he nails the 3 Superman punches, he nails the spear, he nails the second spear, and Brock still kicks out. And then he goes for... What did he go for after that?
Was it a third spear or was it a second spear? I can't remember if it was a third.
He nailed 2. Yeah. I forget if he went for the third, but regardless, Brock gets him in the F5. Yeah. They both go down. Yeah. And then cue Seth's music.
It really caught me off. It kind of caught me off guard. I saw it coming, but when
in that moment it did, yeah.
Yeah, in that moment, just because it was scripted so perfectly.
Yeah, because I remember when we were talking about it before, I was throwing out the question if you can do that and make a match a triple threat. I always thought it kind of had to be after, or I guess before, but it was a great twist, and of course, it being the first time someone actually cashed in at WrestleMania made it even more special. But the crowd was just so great with it. Like they were obviously behind Seth too. I think everyone was just behind someone winning, but Roman at that.
No,
point.
And we had our interesting moment of chanting Reigns didn't win when the match was over, but no, it really was something special with the way that was planned out, right?
So the finish was obviously that Seth kicks Reigns out of the ring, goes for the curb stomp on Brock. Checks on Reigns, goes for a second one. Brock obviously gets him in the F5, gets speared by Reigns, and then Seth curb stomps Roman and pins him, which was really perfect. It was. It couldn't have been any. I got it, and that's what bothers me about the WWE when they give us that.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm just like, why can't
yeah, it's
you
like, how can you do this on a regular basis?
Why does it take the crowd turning on the person you're pushing for us to get these goddamn finishes?
Yeah. You know, everything about it was perfect. Because even, like, the referee, it seemed like even as if even the referee didn't even have any clue what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, you know how you hear about the referees not knowing the finishes to make it more realistic?
Yeah.
The way he was like, okay, he wants to cash in. What do we do? And the announcer's kind of like, okay, yep, triple threat. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was beautiful.
I can't think of a better thing, and I got to give it to the E. I'm surprised we never covered that angle because I feel like we covered everything at that. I think I really
like think you did. You slightly brought up the possibility of saying like, could someone come in mid match? And I remember I was like, no, that's never happened before. And it was. I guess we assumed, like, WWE, you know...
It had to be after the match was over, essentially. If the person doesn't catch him beforehand.
I think that was, like, the stumbling block. Like, we always really stuck around that possibility of, like, okay, the match is over, whoever wins, Seth comes in and cashes it, not mid-match, right?
It's basically that. Basically had the hardcore title rules there. Mm-hmm. So, the one thing I saw brought up a lot online the night after, or at least before Raw After Mania started, was a lot of people curious as to why Seth went after Brock. One, because why would you try to take down Brock and pin him? Two, because Reigns obviously was the guy who took the last finisher. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but seeing all the comments sort of made me sort of wonder, like, why would you go after Brock? Like, why that guy? This is a guy that Roman just tried bringing down with 3 Superman punches and 2 spears.
Yeah.
Why would Seth do that? And I know there's probably no deep thinking to it, but did you think that there was some sort of plot to that, story build to that?
If they didn't have the match together at Royal Rumble and it didn't end the way they did, I would say it wouldn't have made sense. That's my only reason why I made the connection of saying, okay, he went after Brock because
Brock pinned him and beat him at Rumble. Yeah, I wish he addressed that though. Because anyone who's coming to that ring, I'm not going after Brock.
No, it's true. Like especially if you're cashing in the way you are, it would in logic and in kayfabe, you'd go after the guy that just took a finisher.
Yeah. Then again,
Brock just took a beating the entire match. Like Brock was bleeding like a pig,
and he took 5 finishers, but I still would have took my chance with Roman in that one F5 he just ate.
But same here.
But I think it speaks to what they're doing with Seth, because traditionally, it's very rare you get a guy who's a tough heel and a chicken shit heel. The last time they did that, honestly, was with Randy last year. He was the last heel I can remember that was both.
With the right guy, that's the best way to have a heel.
Yeah, it's got to be both.
It really, you have to have both.
Where he's an opportunist, he's not always winning sleeves. And I felt like with Punk's reign, when he went heel during their reign, they had him more as the chicken shit heel for a long portion of that. Yeah, so it was nice. So with Seth, I think it was actually good that he did go after Brock, because it shows like, hey, I'm not gonna always try and weasel my way out. The Money in the Bank is an opportunist briefcase, but I'm gonna try and pin him, which was great.
Yeah. So like, he beat me before. He's the one I want to pin, and then it just worked out. Okay. Roman's the guy.
Right.
Call it a day, right?
So let's talk about, before we get into Raw After Mania, and now that we've had a few days to think about it since we're recording a few days later, The Undertaker streak being broken by Brock, and Brock now losing a year later. He wasn't pinned, we get that. But, or actually, you know what, I guess it makes more sense if we do go into Raw. Because of what happened with Brock and his storyline, and then maybe we'll swing back to the Undertaker, him breaking the streak. No,
that's cool.
So Raw After Mania, show starts off with Brock and Heyman.
Perfect way to start.
The crowd's amped. He gets the suplex city chance.
Yep, which has led to our lovely new T-shirts.
Our new T-shirts, which you can cop at on the links that we're providing on our Twitter, either through our eBay link, our Etsy link, or through our affiliate Six Set Clothing Toronto. $25 if you like it, get it. It's premium white vinyl on nice, comfortable cotton T-shirts, and it came out real sharp.
Oh yeah, I just got mine today, and it's beautiful. I'm pumped to wear this to the gym. I don't care. I'm representing Suplex City.
and a big shout out to those that have ordered a few of them from us already. So he got those chants, and even Brock had to stop and laugh for a second because of the fact I don't think he thought it was going to take off.
I don't think anyone really realizes how powerful the internet is nowadays. Where like all you give one little inch, and people will run with it. And it'll just become like. And this isn't even like more of like a humor thing. Like this, it was just one of those awesome moments, like Suplex City, bitch. Like it was just wicked, right?
It was just perfect. So so he comes out with Heyman. Heyman does most of the talking, all the talking really, about why invoke that rematch clause tonight on Raw, and Brock
talking about like bringing up the history about how he would sue. Like once again, Paul Lee. Bringing in bringing in the mix of the real and the kayfabe, and I love it every time.
The work shoot, a really good work shoot.
Yeah, beautiful.
And said that Brock was going to have his first Raw match in 10 years. And that's when Stephanie came out and basically said that Seth is not even in the building yet, that he's in the air because he went to the Today Show in New York.
For a two minute segment.
Flew all the way back. So let's skip to when they did have their face off, and obviously, Seth decided he wasn't going to give Brock the match.
Perfect.
Which ended up having Brock chasing him. And I don't know what man would ever want Brock chasing them, but he got a hold of Seth, and then for a brief period of time before J&J intervened rather, double clothesline them. Seth got the scissor kick. Brock just
that was after. Was that after he broke out? Like Brock went for the German and he did a backflip or whatever.
Yeah,
perfect. Like
it was just sweet. And then
it really was.
And then gave him the scissor kick, and then Brock just looked at him. I love the crowd's reaction. They were just like, "Oh, like you messed up."
Yeah. And no, it was so cool because like granted, it was so early in the show that it was like. You just sensed something wasn't right with it. I kind of wish they left it towards the end, especially considering that main event was just terrible. We'll get to that. Absolutely. But you know what I love about Seth here is every single time he comes out to the ring, even in his hometown or his home state.
Yep.
He for a guy that's supposed to be a heel, he gets a lot of fans love the guy.
Yep.
The second he starts talking, he turns them against him like that.
Yep.
And that's how you're supposed to be as a heel. And he is amazing at it because even then he came out to cheers. The second he said, "Oh yeah, I'm not defending the title tonight," It went to booze.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Probably going to be one of the best heels in the WWE for a good while.
Yeah, he is, and I'm curious to see what kind of run that they do. With Seth going forward. If obviously, well, let's get to what happened there. Brock obviously snapped. Took out Michael Cole.
F5'd him so hard his shoes came off.
Took out the cameraman, who we ended up finding out later was a local wrestler.
Turned a table on JBL and Booker T.
Yep.
Guys that are seasoned wrestlers, and that just puts people in the hospitals apparently.
Yeah.
But
but it was interesting because of the fact that Stephanie came out and essentially they did a storyline where he was written off the show.
Yeah, suspended. This is a better angle than him just kind of disappearing into this makes more sense to give him his part-time storyline.
So now let's talk about that then.
Yeah.
Do you feel that do you think about him breaking Undertaker's streak now and the fact that he pretty much didn't even have like a year-long reign or even a reign that people thought would go to SummerSlam, maybe even Mania next year? It was weird to see him drop the belt and then be taken off TV right after.
Yeah, personally for me, like we've talked about it before, something like the streak, it's you have to give it to the right person, and you have to give it to someone that's going to really run with it. And it still bugs me that they gave it to a part-time guy. Like if he had a year-long reign where he defended the belt every single pay-per-view, clearing out the roster, I'm cool with the way him going to a part-time schedule, losing the next year at WrestleMania. But he wrestled like one or two.
Well, I guess the counter to that is if he was beating people, and that goes against what I said because I actually wanted him to wrestle every pay-per-view. But if he starts running through everyone in every single pay-per-view, who would be left? So the reign would have to end in a year because of how many main guys he went through, right?
Yeah. But so, even with that, then you have an opportunity of him disappearing for a little bit. The couple of different wrestlers are fighting for the title because then you have new, fresh possibilities.
Yeah.
And go from there. And then he comes back in pissed off and ready to go, right? So
I think it was maybe just a way to give us a break to build for the SummerSlam build.
So I have a feeling he's gonna be on the same kind of schedule as he was last year. He's gonna come back for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Maybe a month beforehand.
You think it'll be that long? You think it'll be that long?
I wouldn't want it to be.
April, May.
But there's a lot of
possibilities. Like 5 months.
There's a lot of possibilities right now with who we have at the top in the title mix.
I'd be scared to have him in a Money in the Bank ladder match.
Oh man, that's gonna be like Big Show being in the Money in the Bank and having reinforced ladders, and there'd be some fun spots. Whoever has the balls to take an F5 off of a 20-foot ladder, but
but it was really fun. I guess on a sidebar, it was interesting to see just how it all went down. Him throwing the table on Cole and Booker T and JBL, and then being out of commission for God knows how long.
Table not being like put back, just hanging there on its side the rest of the night.
I was very surprised with the Byron Saxton call to have him out there. Mm-hmm. I didn't think he would do such a bad job that he did, but I guess we'll have to save that for another discussion because we're talking about the main event title thing here. But I thought the show lost a lot of momentum there.
Yeah, it's
to the point where they had to bring Jerry Lawler out to like save Byron, and it still didn't help. So let's go to the main event now before we go back to Brock. Main event was Reigns, Ryback, Orton versus Seth, Big Show, Kane. I think this sucked the air right out of the building.
Oh yeah, well I can say the energy was dropping down from Rusev's squash match against Goldust, but this absolutely killed it. And even we were online on Twitter talking to people the whole entire time. I would have loved to see Finn Balor in that match because there was so much NXT love throughout the entire Raw event.
Yeah, Neville's appearance.
Yeah, it would have been like the icing on the cake for me if you have like one of the big guys in NXT come out, right? And then it just made sense for it to end up being Roman for the sake of Roman's redemption or like a shot at redemption.
Did you find it strange he didn't even talk the whole show? He just came out for the main event.
Yeah, I found it a little strange. Who knows? Maybe they might do one of those sit downs.
Well, they did. There was a preview for that.
Oh, okay.
I think it's on SmackDown actually right now.
Okay.
So it's him talking about his loss there.
Yeah.
But I find it really strange. Almost they were just trying to avoid any sort of confrontation with the crowd. And they bring him out for this main event. The main event was lackluster. I mean, I love the chants they were getting.
Oh, yeah. Apparently they had to turn it down. Like, it was...
Please retire chants. And,
NXT chants. That was a really good audience for Post-Mania. Like, that was amazing. I think the environment the entire night was awesome.
And they weren't trying to hijack the show too much.
Yeah.
Which you traditionally find. They did, I think, a pretty decent job. But what bothered me about the 6-man tag was the fact that there was no storyline implications in any of that.
No, it was just a random match, and it wasn't as if it was guys that'll put on a show. Because even, granted, like, say, earlier in the night, we had that 8-man tag with 2 tag teams that were involved in the 4-man. Then you have 2 tag teams that are now fresh in the mix. The Ascension, who got completely shot on after trying to build them into something big, and then the Lucha Dragons, and that was a show. Like, if you're going to have a random match, at least make it entertaining, and that match was entertaining. Like, the 6-man tag was terrible.
I get the fact that they didn't want to probably put Brock and Seth on last to upset people. It could because the match didn't happen. I think people would have been happy watching everything get torn up. You don't have to worry about us watching at home, because we didn't pay tickets to be there. I think if they wanted to not leave the people in the arena going home unhappy, then have that 6 minutes of dark match, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, you don't end up having Roman or Ryback on the show itself. Yeah, but who cares? That match.
No, but they weren't used for anything like that match.
It furthered nothing.
That match will have nothing to do with any of their storylines or any of their arcs.
That's what I'm saying. Really that's a match that you'd see on SmackDown that has no major storyline implications.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Randy and Roman are even teaming up, regardless if they're both faces. Randy screwed this guy over 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Right? Just to get at Seth. Reigns should be a little salty still about that.
No, absolutely.
He could be like, you killed my damn momentum going into that match with Brock, right?
Yeah.
So to have these two guys teaming up like nothing happened.
Yeah.
It was just funny to me. Unless Randy were to talk Roman backstage and basically just say, I'm sorry for using you to get to Seth, and just kill it. But they didn't even do that. They just had these two guys teaming up.
Yeah, I know. They should have. Yeah, that's the thing. They had the talking moment with Ryback, but I think there should have been a slight talking moment between him and Randy and and Reigns.
Shout out to Ryback though. He's doing a great job.
Oh yeah, I love him.
He's got
love
the crowd behind him. He's got the crowd behind him.
Yeah, I was so mad he didn't win the Battle Royal. Yeah. So upset about it.
I'm so cheesed about that.
I know we already covered it, but it upsets me so much.
So, what do you expect to go forward now? A Seth, obviously Randy match, I think it is for Extreme Rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, where do you put Reigns in all this? Brock, we know will come back in a few months. How? I don't know. Probably in a surprise attack on Seth.
Yeah.
But where do you see this? What do you see happening now? And do you think Reigns will be in the title picture also?
See, I can see, like, for the sake of Extreme Rules, I can see Reigns being stuck with, unfortunately, like the Big Show or Kane in a match, or who knows, maybe he might within the next couple of weeks be making his case to be making a triple threat.
Or in the Money in the... Okay, yeah.
Or, well, Money in the Bank is another possibility. And even then, I personally would think Money in the Bank is better for him because he'll have the briefcase and it's something that the storyline can build and you can bring him in at the right time. He doesn't have to be in a program with anyone. It just kind of can just happen organically.
So rumors came out today that the decision for Seth to win happened during the Rock, Ronda Rousey, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon segment.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I read that just before we recorded it.
Oh.
Via WrestleLink.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I heard about that. I heard there was it was a complete storyline switch, but I didn't realize it was like mid-show. That
the ending itself was scripted. I'm curious what was initially booked though, but it's about Seth cashing in.
Sure.
Now, with Reigns, they're in a funny spot because they didn't go through with the push.
Yep, they had the guy's entire family there,
who weren't there ringside during the match anymore. I think the crowd's not messing with him. Obviously, they're not rocking with him. They still aren't rocking with him at Raw After Mania. I bet he got this in pop on SmackDown. Is this the time now to phase him out a bit and keep him busy with something else? Can Reigns be in that title picture any other point during this year after what they just did? Do you think fans will ever, or the universe will be able to let up?
You have to give them time to forget about it.
But do you have to pull him out of the main event?
Yeah, you have to pull him out. You have to pull him out of the main event picture. Put the U.S. title on him. Put him in those kind of title situations. But it's because look at how it went with Roman initially. Whereas we had 1 year where we wanted Roman to win the Royal Rumble.
But that was more of pick your poison, though.
Well, yeah,
I was cheering for him too, but I mean, if someone else was in that ring other than Batista, would I have been cheering Roman as hard? I don't know, because I didn't really. A lot of people go back all the way back to a Survivor Series run, and they say stuff like, but everyone was cheering him during that Survivor Series run, when he was a heel, and it was like you could already see the super push happening. Yeah, that's when I think everyone was programming their brain slowly for a couple years from now, right? And then with the thing at Royal Rumble. Anyone would have gotten cheered if freaking even Rey Mysterio got booed in that Rumble, but if he eliminated Batista, he would have gotten a pop.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't know if it was that much. I don't think people cheered Reigns because they liked him, but no one was necessarily
wanting him to win
the title. Just more Batista not winning.
Sure.
Right. So we skip a year later, and everyone's making that case. So we were all cheering him during the Rumble. It was totally different circumstances.
Well, even then, it was like. I think even reports online from, was it almost like August or July, was already saying that Reigns was in the consideration as the guy.
It was before that, though. It was like a few months after Mania, you already hearing Brock versus Reigns.
Well, yeah, that's what I remember, that it was and this was the same year as that Royal Rumble, that they were already saying, the debate was between Reigns and having Brock against The Rock or something, one of those classic old-school storylines, really. Yeah. But yeah, it's... I don't know. If you give it enough time, it could happen. People can forget about it, but the good thing is Reigns is young. Just has to suck it up. Yeah. Deal with it.
I just feel like it can't be done this year with him. I feel like the minute he gets put back in that title scene and he's pushed the same way and not organically, which I don't know if it can even happen organically right now. I think
they need to push to make him a heel. That's the only way he'll be in
and then come back around to face again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't see him being full-fledged face mode with the monster push again, and I think we'll go through the same thing. Yeah. Something drastic would have to happen, or he'd have to turn for.
They just really pushed him down people's throats, it's terrible because he is a gifted athlete. He does have a very limited move set, but you got to give the guy credit. He does have the look, but he should have been in the U.S. title mix. He should have been the guy to beat Rusev. Yeah. And then make his way to the world title.
In the year, yeah. The one thing I found kind of funny was a lot of people were saying how he can't work a match, and then using WrestleMania as a reason to say he can work a match. He he didn't work the match. He
No.
sold the match extremely
He sold
well.
the match, yeah.
And he did great from a psychology storytelling standpoint. He did not work a match. He
No,
got
no,
his
no,
ass
no,
kicked
not
for
at all.
about 12 minutes and
Yeah.
had that mini comeback at the end.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
No,
from
it's
a
true.
from a technical working standpoint, he has there was no improvement there.
No, not at all.
From his
that was the big concern going into the match, that you had two guys that can't necessarily dictate a match.
Yeah. But they both held their own from the storyline standpoint.
They did. They really did. Both of them really surprised
I'll give
me.
him that. So if but Reigns is not a guy you can watch get obliterated like that again. It can only be against Brock. So that's probably a one and done type of thing. We can't see him putting on that performance against Kane and all that. Then he's basically going to become a John Cena.
Yeah.
By that last 30 seconds of turbo there. So I guess we'll have to agree that he shouldn't be in the picture for a bit. I even think Money in Bank would be too early for him. But I'm curious.
Well, yeah, because when you win Money in the Bank, it sets up that like mindset in people's mind that.
But he could be heel with a briefcase. That'd be great.
I really would love to see him recreated as a heel, and then he's still young. He can still have his WrestleMania moment one day. Like it's.
I think he just has to be careful what he says in the interviews, because I feel like a lot of that didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
Telling people that they don't know anything and and doesn't care about the fans and the promos.
No, it's true, and even with that, it could have been done differently. Like, he could have been saying like, "Oh, you know what? I've had people tell me I wasn't ready my whole life. I had people tell me I wasn't ready when I was leaving NXT to come to the main roster, and look what the Shield did to the WWE main roster." They could have it's very basic stuff that in the writing could have saved this guy. But overall, and it's a lot of the writing is what put him in the position he was in, which is really unfortunate.
But I'm excited to see what they do with the main event title scene. I don't mind seeing Seth and Randy have another match at Extreme Rules on the BP paper.
Is it going to be? Have they said anything? Is it going to be like a no DQ, like weapons?
I don't know. I'll have to watch SmackDown and see.
Okay.
At this point, I'm not sure. I guess we'll have to do an update on that.
Yeah.
But let us know what you guys think about just the main event title scene. What you're expecting, how you felt about the finish to WrestleMania, your expectations going forward with Brock. When do you expect to see him back? And just in general, how you feel, Seth. What are your expectations from Seth? And where would you slot Roman in all this, given the the last minute change to take the belt and take his sort of boyhood dream away? Like, subscribe, comment, follow us on Twitter under kayfabe6, and signing out.